Good. Was looking for music until you showed up.
Who was?
I was looking for music quickly till you showed up. So we're good to go now.
Oh, we are all good. So I want to put a quote I saw over the weekend up and talk about it just to start. Have y'all seen this? So it says to be successful at anything, the truth is you don't have to be special. You just have to be what most people aren't, consistent, determined, and willing to work for it. What do you think of that?
I'm very
Not
grateful for
everybody
that.
at once.
Yeah, Brett, I'm very grateful for that because I definitely don't feel special or the smartest person in the room or the most talented person in the room, but it's good to know it if you are consistent and you work hard, it's 100% true.
Well, and
There you go.
most people don't really try that hard. Let's get real. I mean, really hard, like all in kind of hard.
Tell me what do you mean, Rick?
What's that look like?
I mean, getting up early and staying late until the job's done. I mean, doubling your calls. Like there's simple things in our industry you can do. But my experience early, especially, early in my career was that I outran a lot of people because I outworked a lot of people. And then over time, efficiency and intelligence showed up in terms of modeling and following the footsteps of those that are, more effective at leverage. And over time, I didn't have to work as hard. But, when tough times show up, I think sometimes you just have to double down.
Yeah. I think the people that are doing this are winning right now. And I would say not everybody's winning right now. And uh, I've been through a couple, and if you are in our industry for any length of time, you're going to have great markets and you're going to have some down markets. But the question is, do you change who you are based on what's going external factors? Or the best of the best show up to work and do the same thing every day in every market. And you change strategy, but you don't change the foundation of who you are and how you show up.
And mid-year is the right time to review and make any changes.
There you go. It's tomorrow, Manny. All right. Let me get my charts up here.
I will say this:
And
this is a great time while you're doing that. This is a great time to do a day planner test. Take a hard look at your schedule and analyze the 80/20 rule against the things you're investing your time in, because not all things are equally created. Sometimes we confuse busy with productive and positive. So just take a deep breath and get really clear that there are a handful of things that really move the needle, and the rest are, supplemental and helpful, but not necessarily 20%. So think in terms of Pareto's law and
And
reformulate your schedule to suit more time in the 20% actively engaged difference making zone.
and Rick, I was actually about to say the exact same thing. If you look at what clients you have, if you can trace it to the source of how you got that client, that will tell you, is it luck or is it skill? And luck comes into play after you apply skill for a consistent period of time. Meaning, if I'm consistently following up, and then it may be like lucky, I got something out of the blue. But that's where I think too many can confuse the difference between results as a byproduct of consistent behavior or a result because you got lucky. And luck happens. You need a little of that. But that's where I was going to say there's two different things.
yeah, and luck only happens if you're in the game every day.
100%.
It's luck's not a good strategy, but we certainly will take it if we're in the game and something lucky happens. All right, let's hit this. And I want to before I go into the numbers, I saw this article yesterday, and I'm actually kind of encouraged by this. It says, against all odds, Gen Z is breaking into the housing market. And Gen Z primarily is ages 13 to 28, which obviously 13-year-olds are not buying houses, but they're certainly the age that came into age during the pandemic. And, what this article talks about is they're just figuring it out, but they're motivated to buy houses. And I had a couple thoughts around this. Obviously, we study generations specifically because the habits that come with different generations affect our business. And I've heard people describe Gen Z as a throwback generation, kind of throwback to the baby boomer generation, that they're doing life events earlier than the millennial generation did. And that's not a knock on the millennial, it's more just a psychological study of habits. But we saw the millennial generation waiting late into their 30s to buy their first house. We saw the millennial generation waiting into their uh, late 30s to get married. I believe the Gen Z generation will buy houses much earlier in life. I believe they will get married much earlier in life. They'll start their family much earlier in life. And as a real estate professional, that should be good news to us. And I was laughing. I had a conversation with Kelly on Saturday, and we're both of the Gen X, and the comment we made was, I guess we're starting to be the old generation, which is always
Just
fun
you,
as
Brett, not me,
you
just you.
grow up, right? I don't know. What do you think about this? I thought this was kind of fun little way to start our update today.
Yeah, I mean, I agree, Brett. I think it shows Gen Z is proving that you don't have to wait for the perfect conditions to take action. And the article goes into like affordability challenges, but they're finding creative ways to enter the market. So creative ways such as co-buying with friends and relocating to more affordable areas and family support, which we've talked, but it's just a reminder in any market you can get creative and resourceful, and they seem to be taking that action. So,
Mm-hmm.
And it might be
It
our
just said some received help from family while others did it all on their own. They're just figuring it out. And I think it speaks to, Matt, exactly what you're saying is if you're motivated, you'll figure it out.
well, and I think we need to tell a better story to inspire big thinking. So I bought my first house at 23 and did borrow a little bit of money from my grandmother, partial down payment money, and I borrowed against my 401k that I'd worked on building. And then I house hacked. They call it house hacking. We have got three roommates paying 90% of my mortgage. Now, affordability could challenge that, but I do know young people today pay ridiculous rent. And so, how do we sell or tell a story that inspires young people to become investors when they're
Yeah.
still single and have capacity?
You know, Luke, I mean, Rick, you've got a son that's Gen Z and he's out trying to buy his first house right now.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he grew up in an environment where, I've proven time and again that there's no better vehicle for wealth building than real estate.
Rick makes a great. Oh, sorry, Rick. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying maybe this is a great opportunity, though, for like seminars or even for your adult clients who have Gen Z, kids that fit that mold. How do you inspire them to inspire their kids? Go for it, Matt.
You
Yeah, I
know,
was just.
Rick, I think here's the question is
Go for it,
real
Brett.
estate professionals tend to grow up, their database grows up with them.
Mhm.
So if you're of Gen X or you're of millennial, your database primarily is probably consistent of people of the same generation that you are. Yet you realize as you mature in life, one of the goals is figure out how to sell your influence kids. So if I was baby boomer at some point in time, I would want to figure out how to pass through my circle of influence to the baby boomers kids. Well, Gen Z is a little bit of the kids of Gen X, so it's the first time our real estate professionals of that generation are trying to pass through their generation to the next generation of their kids to help them buy and sell real estate, right? Like, so I think it's actually very strategic at some point in time, and I'll shut up if somebody's got some advice on this, but how do you pass through your circle of influence into their descendants?
And I think that works right along where I was going with Rick's telling a story and through social media outlets. If you look at any study on Gen Z, their main, we talked about this last week, their main, what they're known for is comfortability. and sharing a story of comfortability. And by telling stories like that, they've grown up watching economic uncertainty. They've grown up watching everything on their phones. And when you're telling stories of people house hacking or young people getting assistance, and that's where they go to find news, they get more comfortable with the idea. And being able to share that through social media mediums which they live, I think is a way to cut through different generations that you may not have worked with in the past.
And I'd say
And Matt,
this.
just to that point, I'm telling you, I don't think I've ever seen a social media post about house hacking.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen somebody do a video on it.
I have a friend who wrote a book. Google it on Amazon so that can be conversant. And I'll tell you this, the way to win, I remember this. I became a first-time homebuyer specialist in the 90s when I started in real estate, primarily because I was insecure about my age. So I had to dip into that pool. And I remember I had a 10-step why everyone should own a home, and it was 10 points. And it was basically, I called it like making Kool-Aid, like add water and stir. And I just walked around having conversation after conversation with people I felt that should be building wealth that hadn't thought about it. And they were 23 to 28 years old. And what I found was as I succeeded with 1, 2, and 3, 4, 5, and 6 just showed up organically. The most powerful conversation is peer to peer. And people don't want to be left behind or left out. Inspire people to go share that experience of winning in a home buying scenario with all their friends. It's not complicated, but you've got to find your way into that sphere and then literally just blow up a story around awesome and why it's the greatest thing you could ever do.
There you go.
And
Let's
if you're
run
not
through these
excited
numbers.
about it, it's not going to work. That's the thing. You've got to genuinely get excited.
All right, Fulton County, I'll hit them fast. 1163 new active inventory, 130 went under contract in the last 7 days, a little bit up from last week. Both of those, maybe a little bit down from where we've been trending in Fulton County. Sitting with 275 pending. That's the highest pending since the beginning of the month. So that's great. And then 373 closed out in the last 7 days. Obviously, we're sitting here the last day of the month. I'm assuming a chunk of these are coming from end of month closings. But the numbers look good in Fulton. In DeKalb, my computer's blurry, 907 or 807? 807 in active inventory, pretty consistent with where it was the last week. But certainly over 800 is a big number in DeKalb County. We haven't seen that level of new properties coming on the market. The last 2 weeks have kind of broken that ceiling. 88 active under contract. Pretty decent number if you just kind of look in comparison, but maybe a little down from where it was in May. And then 163 pending, a little off, but it may bounce back just because we're at the end of the month. And then 268 closed out in the last 7 days, big number. End of May, we had 157 and 141 in end of month closings, and we had 268. So that's a big jump for DeKalb County of end of month closings. I'll be excited to see where the total for the month lands after we get all the numbers in. Cobb County, 687 in new listings. There were a couple weeks over 700 or 1 week over 700 back in April or May 5th, yet 640, big inventory coming on the market, 687 coming on the market end of the month here in Cobb County. 118 came into contract status. Pretty big. There's a couple other 118s, but looks like a lot's moving in Cobb County. 205 are in the pending category, which is healthy, and 300, Matt Pitts, your backyard, closed in the last 7 days. What do y'all see there?
It is busy. I don't know if that's the right answer, but it has seemed at least in Cobb County, agents are working, phones are ringing, and it's just been a busy 2 weeks, and the numbers show that. So,
yeah. Manny, what are you hearing in DeKalb? Oh, he went off camera. Anyway, y'all see the numbers.
They're
We've
not
got
bad.
quite a
That's the
few.
bottom line.
Solid.
There's no trend here that looks anything short of okay. Like if you've been winning, you'll probably keep winning. If you're not winning, you better continue to work harder to, amend your strategy. That's what I see.
Yeah. There's a couple articles. I'll let you read them, but just quick talking points. It feels like that the conflict in Iran and Israel is not going to lend us into a global war at this point in time. But one of the things that we always track is how does it affect the housing market? I heard Gary Keller use the word nothing burger, which is a strange word, but it really hadn't affected the US housing market one way or another. The interesting thing they did talk about in here is what do they track? Oil is something they track as an how does that get affected? They track the stock market and the equity markets if those get affected, and then obviously interest rates. Those are kind of the big three when you have a global event that affects our world. And it, I'll use the word again. It just seems to be a nothing burger around what the global conflict looks like. Second quick talking point: Compass is suing Zillow. And this is one of those conversations where I keep saying, "Get your popcorn ready." This private listing conversation continues to make its way to the courts around are private listings good? Zillow's position around if you take a private listing, will no longer allow you to put it in the large aggregator space. I think it's going to play out in the court systems. I understand both sides of the argument around whether private listings are a good thing or where private listings potentially could hurt the consumer. Any thoughts?
I'll let Rick speak on this again.
I mean, I won't say always, that's not right. There have been times where we thought Zillow was somewhat linked to a devil, a deal with the devil, and that we gave them access to everything, and then they were doing a better job marketing to our own clients and reselling them. And so I wonder if there's a piece of that in the Compass puzzle, short of just their wall around, hey, we can do what we want with our listings, which, is this a consumer, protection motivated, thing? And I'm scratching my head, but we'll see.
Yep.
I mean, it's
All right.
interesting. They're powerful.
I'm
They're
gonna.
both powerful and they both have cash. So it'll be interesting to watch them spend money to prove themselves right or wrong.
Oh, of course. All right. I'm going to die on this hill for a minute. So I continue to say that if you look at the mortgage interest rates today, the Mortgage News Daily is like 6.72 on a 30-year conventional, and it's like 6.22 on an FHA 30-year. So it's a half a point difference. Well, I still believe if you look at our marketplace, I would venture to say 70% of the real estate we're transacting would be of the price range that would be eligible for the FHA loan product. And one of the reasons FHA lost its sexiness was just because of the red tape around the loan, the appraisal conditions, all that fun stuff. Well, it looks like the government is waking up and trying to remove or close some of the red tape around FHA loans. And as we move into a more balanced real estate market, we're continuing to deal with affordability challenges. A loan product that has a 0.5% difference is probably going to become more and more popular. And I think as real estate professionals, we need to wake up to the fact that FHA is probably a good tool in our belt to work with some of these buyers. Thoughts?
Yeah, I mean they're just more tolerant of variables that help more people buy houses. The whole idea behind it is to help Americans own homes.
Yeah, I think rescinding the policies and streamlining the process, Brett, is what I'm hearing for our agents would
Yeah,
be quicker approvals, less friction, which I think checking that out and getting communication with our lenders to understand that could help with underwriting everything to make the process smoother, which sounds positive for agents working
yeah.
with FHA buyers.
Well, I
It
think if I
does.
was a listing agent today, the concern around accepting an FHA loan was had a lot to do with the appraisal protocols. And if they lack some of the appraisal protocols of accepting an FHA buyer, I think I need to be aware of that as a listing agent.
Well, and often it's more first time home buying lower end homes that have potential structural or material defects that, they can't afford to fix up front, and it becomes an issue with, to your point, the appraisal and the inspection. But now, I mean, I just Googled quick 688,850 in certain counties. There are probably some decent houses that aren't going to be a problem. And I would also say that because of the potential hurdles and headaches and the time it takes historically, you become more competitive in a balanced market where all cash is king. I think all of a sudden sellers not getting multiple offers and, waiving finance and appraisal contingencies along the way will change the way sellers behave.
Yep. And
For
just
sure, for sure.
reiterating the affordability option that this gives people and the competitiveness that it gives people, it all goes into effect that it helps many first time and entry level home buyers. So,
Boom. All right. This article just talks about have slightly lower mortgage rates stabilized the housing market? Not really. Yet the indicators are healthy that we should have a downward pressure on mortgage rates in the near future. But yet I would not make that a buying decision today. I don't think you're going to get a point drop in interest rates. We may get from 6.7 to 6.5 or 6.4 or something. Yet, where I think the agent dialogue should be, and then obviously I want y'all's opinion, is I think where the consumer, if you just take investing 101, the best investments are made when they buy the investment at the price they pay for that investment. And in the current environment, if you're a good negotiator, I believe you can help people win 10 times more at the negotiation table right now than you ever will around them trying to get a 6.5% interest rate or something like that. I think you're helping people in their affordability and their purchase journey more in your negotiation skills right now than anything around interest rate. Thoughts?
I would just say every market speaks differently. The market that Luke's looking to invest in, we were 2% off their asking price. It took 4 or 5 days. The house was on the market for 34 days, zero offers. The day before we were about that, literally the day we were going to accept their final counter, a full price offer rolls in from a showing that morning. And you're just like, so every market is different. I think you just have to capitalize when the availability is there and the inventory and the competition supports it. But that's where your expertise pays dividends.
So your negotiating skills, Rick?
Clearly I failed, but at the end of the day, that's one of the lessons, and so what now what? And something better is coming. I had to dust off my energy and my, perspective around this too, because I was heartbroken. I mean, we spent 5 days going back and forth. And so here's my advice to you. If you haven't had that, I would push through quicker, not to leave it to chance. And, I probably should have pushed harder, but, I became a little bit maybe overly confident that after 35 days we get to do this one on one in the ring, and then we've got a little bit of time. And I still think moving, there's an energy when someone likes a house. This is my airy fairy weird, energy conversation. I feel like there's an energy that cranks into the universe when your client wants it that draws other people to it. So the minute you know you want it, my lesson this last week was to move quicker and not hesitate.
There you go. Quick talking point, then I want to end on a fun one. Atlanta sees the fourth largest yearly home price drop in US. Are prices going backwards in Atlanta?
Not last week.
Yeah. I think it's hyper local. Obviously, when we see this article, it's saying the median home price in Metro Atlanta fell 1.8% the 12 months ending in May. I think if you look at the city as a whole, we might be sliding slightly in pricing. Yet, I think, Rick, to your point, I mean, real estate's done hyper local, and not every area is going to have the same experience. But I wouldn't be shocked if prices started slipping a little bit between now and the end of the year. Great news for a Monday, yet it's an awareness conversation. All right, Rick, tell me about this.
Yeah, I mean, it's phenomenally confident to produce a pickleball facility of 110,000 feet. I read the deck on that. I had a friend send it to me. They're looking for investors. And it sounds magnificent and intriguing, and it's cool. I love pickleball, so I'm a little biased.
So this is going in, or proposed to go in West Midtown.
Absolutely.
Indoor pickleball.
The
I
only,
had never played pickleball, I will admit, but I understand I'm one of the few.
yeah, I love it. You know, it's a social game. It's a game that lots of people can play at any age bracket, and it's kind of low impact. And again, there's a social aspect. I went with a group of guys. We went to an outing at the Social Pickle and Social, and it was a blast. They had appetizers, a bar, pickle. I mean, I don't know that you should drink a lot and do, competitive sports, but they had it available. They had it available. And the cross section of people doing it, it's fun. Again, cross generational, there's no limitation for most. So we'll see. 110,000 feet's a big, that's commitment. That's commitment that people
Well,
are
I
going to
think
show up.
what's the parlay to the real estate world?
Yeah.
Well, I think when you put something like that into a community, it's a long-term commitment that there's going to be more real estate going in West Midtown.
Yeah. Yeah. What's that do to future business growth? What's that do to price appreciation in the future? And I didn't know pickleball was a competitive sport. So thank you for that, Rick.
There you go.
Not for
All right,
professional
final
athletes,
thoughts.
not professional athletes like you, Matt.
Yeah. Final thoughts. I'll give it to you guys.
Go ahead, Rick.
I'm, Anybody on the call have a thought about pickleball in this huge? I'm curious. I anybody play who's never played?
I've actually never played and I don't play. Oh, I'm sorry, let me turn on my camera. But I think pickleball is great for what they're doing around ATL. I know they have like the painted pickle, which is like a really good like social thing that you could go to and like network. I maybe played it maybe one time as a nanny with one of my nanny kids. But
Right.
I love the concept of it. It's very like relaxed. It's not like a crazy tennis match where you're like running everywhere and you can play it with like a group of people, strike up conversations, things like that.
Thanks for the share. I do think, to your point, Brett, that it does speak to uh, perceived demand, and it's going to be good for our communities. It's another thing that anchors people to areas. I love it in
Mhm.
West Midtown. I think that's awesome. It's another asset for us to sell as we inspire people to invest in real estate.
Rick, can I point out just real quick too, if you do luxury or you got your eye on luxury, you will see how many people are switching their tennis courts to pickleball courts. It's really interesting.
Yeah.
And another note as well, this is going to be right on the belt line as well.
Sweet.
There you go. Ken, that's your backyard, sir.
It's my backyard. I know well. Yes.
There you go.
I'm happy about it. I need to
All
learn.
right.
My final word is go back to your day planner and pay closer attention to how you're investing your time. Make it intentional about the people puzzle game and make sure your narrative is positive and impactful. and that you're having more conversations. There's a simple correlation between quality conversations and outcomes that favor your income and your trajectory as a real estate professional.
And my final word, Brett, would be we just gave you about 10 articles that you could use on social media with 3 to 4 great points to communicate this to your database in a very positive, fun story, right, Rick? To provide awareness of what actually is going on and spark conversation.
I would love if somebody would post a house hacking social media video and tag Heart of Atlanta Group and tag me. I will share it. I love it.
Sweet. Katie's
Bye,
on it.
guys.
Watch out. See you guys.
Bye.